this. There we go. All right. Good evening, everybody. Today's Gimel ER. It's the Yartzeit of the Holy Tzaddik Yeshayale, Yeshayale ben Rebbe Moshe, Yeshayale Kerestir. Fascinating tzaddik who just, I would say, in the past 10 years, it's 95 years since he left this world at a ripe old age. And in the past, about 10 years or so, he really became very popular pilgrimage site. Even though I knew about him before, because I had one of my friends in yeshiva who was the ben bias by the Kerestir Rebbe Zechron, and who was the Einikel Rebbe Yeshayale Zechron, who's, of course, was an Einikel of Rebbe Yeshayale Kerestir, is named after Rebbe Yeshayale himself. And so one of the Bachrim, one of the Galite I went to yeshiva with, he was ben bias there by Rebbe Yeshayale. Who I was able to meet once or twice. I remember this Yugaman's Chasana. The Rebbe came as Masar Kedushin. And I know B'Shaya's nephew, Chananya, was our neighbor. His father was a Kerestir Rebbe in Miami. I remember meeting him. So we have a lot of Erlechid and many other tzaddikim who are now they're Einiklach from Rebbe Yeshayale Kerestir. Rebbe Yeshayale had an older brother. He had an English name Herman Yehuda Tzvi, who's buried in Staten Island. And it's interesting to me. I'd like to learn more. I understand he was a Rav in Westchester, and not in Yonkers, in the same place where Rabbi Chait was a Rav. I can't remember now the name of the town. Where Rabbi Yochanan Chait was a Rav. I'm trying to remember. Anyway, not Yorktown, not Bronxville. Erget's in Westchester. He was a Rav, apparently, or he lived there. I don't know if he was a Rav in the shul or not. I don't know it. But it's interesting to learn about, how Rebbe Yeshayale Kerestir, the older brother, who was here in America, buried here in America. A lot of people go when it's not social distancing time. They go to his kever there in Staten Island. If they can't make it to Kerestir, they go to Staten Island. And what's interesting to me, I'd like to learn more about him, particularly because my Elter Baba and Elter Zayda are buried in that same chelka, not only in the same B'Sachayim, but in the same chelka, the Hungarian chelka. And the Elter Zayda, his name was Baruch Schwartz. Was Yitzchak Schwartz, Ignat Schwartz. That's how I'm named Yitzchak, after my Elter Zayda, of Yitzchak Schwartz. And his and he was a big yachsin. Ignatz, the Elter Zayda, the Yitzchak ben Baruch. That's where my yichus that I know about comes from. He goes back to Moshe Aryeh Kruller, and to Moshe Spitz was the Chenger Rav, and Moshe Spitz was a big yachs, and we went back to the Chavos Yoer and so forth. So it's interesting to learn more. I understand that he would help to get matzahs then in that time, in America, that he would import from Hungary Hamish matzahs, so that people would have shmura matzah, not just machine matzahs in America. That I guess he got from Yeshayale, sent to America the matzahs to his brother, is apparently the story. But I don't have too much information about this Rabbi Herman Steiner, who was the brother to Yeshayale Kerestir. There's all kinds of interesting stories by Yeshayale Kerestir. He was a different type of tzaddik. He was the type of tzaddik that was the you would typify a Hungarian Rebbe who is not a Rav. Not a Yotz. He's probably the only Yotz min haklal that a Rebbe in Hungary did not also serve in the Rabbanis, meaning that he had two roles. Usually, like the Satmar Rav, his main role, and we've discussed this before, was that he was the chief rabbi of the town. Whatever town he was in, he had the position as the chief rabbi. And kind of on the side, he learned Kvitlach and Feared Tish, and did the Chassidish thing, And he came from the Yismach Moshe, was a Chassidish Rebbe, but also the Yismach Moshe himself was also the Rav in Il, and so too in Sigit, the Etiv Lev and the Kedushas Yantiv served as not only as Admorim, but as Av Bezdin, not only as Rebbes, but as Rabbanim, as they were the chief rabbi of the town. And so too, even we talk about, usually you say, Rabbi Isaac Kalev was the Kalev Rebbe, but he was the Rav in Kalev. And a lot of Rebbes also served as Rav in the town. The sons are Rav, Bells are Rav. In Galicia, that was very common. Berdichev Rav, in Ukraine, probably one of the few Ukrainian Rebbes that was mainly a Rav also. But here, Yeshayale Kerestir, his main thing was he was a Rebbe. I don't know if he served any Rabbanis post in Kerestir, but he settled there, and he was a Talmud of Rebbe Lisker, who was a Talmud of the Yismach Moshe, and he was also a very big Mekurev to Reb Mordechai Nedverna, and he was also a chassid of the sons of Rav. So, he had this shaykhs to these tzaddikim, and he himself, it seemed that he was originally something, a Hosbucher, a Gaba, a Shamus, a Gaba Tzedakah, and when Hershel Liska was Nifter, is when he started the Rebbe Vista Yeshayale Kerestir, at the behest very much of Mordechai Nedverna, who, of course, the Mordechai Nedverna pushed all of his Einiklach to be Rebbes, even B'chaim Chayusai, even meaning, pretty much if your last name is Leifer or Rosenbaum, you have a right to make yourself a Chassidish Rebbe, right? And the original name was Leifer, but they changed it to Rosenbaum. And that's how we have so many Rebbes who were Einiklach of Reb Mordechai Nedverna. Even a lot of them were Rebbes when their father was still alive, which is a unique thing. Meaning that not that they had the Rebbe Vista not from the father and not from the Shver, but just Stamazoi, they started the Rebbe Vista it's interesting, So like our Rebbe in Bloomingburg, not Werner Rebbe in Bloomingburg, his father, so gesund sein, should be well, Choshev Yid, and but Reb Zeidel he already is a shtickler Rebbe in Bloomingburg. He has his own besmedrash, small besmedrash, and so he is this. And mamish, when you go there, by my friend Reb Zeidel and Werner Rebbe, you have a shtickle of feeling what it might have been like in Kerestir. There's a certain simplicity. Reb Zeidel's a big Talmud Chacham, and a tremendous koyach, and yet he fühlt sich so poshut, like, you just enjoy being around him. He always has a big smile, and somehow I feel like, and the simple life, in a simple house, and a very simple besmedrash, but always giving. He has nothing, and he's always giving, and that's how Yeshayale Kerestir was. He had nothing, but he always had what to give. So, he said that I think Herschel Lisker said that my Yeshayale is the biggest gvir because he has everything he needs. You want to compare him to Rothschild or Montefiore or whoever. I don't mean the Heintiger Rothschilds. I mean the Moldeke, or Bamshel Rothschild, the Gavena Grace, it's not that, you wouldn't compare to the other people. Anyway, I saw an interesting story that by Yeshayale Kerestir, a lot of people would come Motzei Shabbos to Melava Malka. And Melava Malka would go on till 2-3 in the morning every Motzei Shabbos, and he himself would cook a big Suda, because like Shlomo Melech B'Shato, every Motzei Shabbos he would shecht a new behema, he would all kinds of things. He would present there at a Zaya Tish by the Melava Malka in Kerestir, that the people would come from all the neighboring villages and towns to come to be by Reb Yeshayale for Melava Malka Motzei Shabbos, Saturday night, the Saturday night meal. And like I said, we go on for hours and hours to the night. And he had all kinds of food there, and he was always giving out food. That was his whole avodah. Even like we always say, when the other tzaddikim before the Tkiyah Shofar, they were going to mikveh, learning Zohar, making big kavanas, meditating upon all kinds of ideas. Yeshayale Kerestir, he would be cutting the cake for the Kiddush, so that Eden should have what to eat and not have to, have that a few more minutes to have to cut the cake. It's already cut. And that was the Avodah by Yeshayale Kerestir. And the Zelach Avodah is Kedai for all of us. We can learn from that to be giving, to be caring. And the story goes, one night there were two Yingalite, they were coming to Kerestir, Motzei Shabbos, and they're in the wagon, and these two big white dogs came and scared the horses, and the horses wouldn't move. So, it was a long trip. It took, 2 hours maybe to get to Kerestir, the people would travel a long time. Like I remember Altsbacher. I learned in Queens by Rabbi Braunspiegel, for Shlema, in Queens, and I would go sometimes. Sometimes I would go to Borough Park for Shabbos, but also sometimes once it's Shabbos, I would just get on the train, go to Borough Park to go to Sklener Rebbe when he was still fearing Shalshudis a lot of the times, and then also he would have Malava Malka would go very late by Sklener Rebbe. And so many deer out. So by Sklener Rebbe, I would get on the train. It would I didn't drive, and also the drive to Borough Park from Queens is not so easy. It's one thing to Williamsburg, you could get to Queens pretty quickly, 15-20 minutes depending on the traffic, but to get to Borough Park, it's always very difficult to get into Borough Park. And then once you get to Borough Park, to find where to park, you have to drive around the whole borough to find where to park. That's why it's called Borough Park. So but you take the train. But also the train from Queens to Williamsburg, maybe a half hour, and but from Queens to Borough Park, well over an hour, but it was worth it, to go to see Sklener Rebbe. I have these memories of Sklener Rebbe. So anyway, these guys, they were going to Kerestir, and they figure, what are they going to do? The horses won't move, and there's these scary big white dogs barking at them. They don't want to, so then they get out, and they tell the dogs, they said, we're going to Kerestir to be by Yeshayale. When the dogs heard that, they left them alone, let them go. They got back in the wagon, the horses went, and then it took about 2 hours to get all the way to Kerestir, however far away it was, with the horse and wagon, Verden Vogen, the Balagola, And Yeshayale, when he sees him, he says, I was already waiting 2 hours for you. So, this was who Yeshayale Kerestir was. He cared about other people, Jews and non-Jews. He loved everybody. Now, if somebody was making redifas, that's a different story. But they say there was a non-Jewish postman who at the funeral said, "You don't know who this man was. I delivered his mail. I saw how much money he donated to other people, to people in need." Melech Biederman soll gesund sein, who I never went to. I don't think he was famous already when I was in Yerushalayim. When I was in Yerushalayim, we remembered when Sigmar Zilberberg, that was a big, person that we would go to see. Reb Tzvi Meyer was really, a major figure, and I don't remember Melech Biederman being yet so popular. Maybe he was, I don't know. We're talking about 20 years ago that I was in Yerushalayim, almost 19 years ago. So. Anyway, So by Reb Melech Biederman, I don't know why he doesn't call himself Lalaver Rebbe. I don't know whether. I guess there's enough Lalaver Rebbes, but Reb Melech Biederman, they send out his videos online and with subtitles, and they go out on WhatsApp and all over. And he tells a lot of stories by Yeshayale Kerestir. And he's told one story that's very powerful. It's worthwhile to repeat it. I uploaded it to the website here, to the YouTube channel some time back. Eid came to Yeshayale, said, I'm giving up on life. I'm ready to commit suicide. So then Yeshayale, he looked at him. He said, the other Hasidim around, he said, "What do you say?" They said, "No, Chas v'Shalom, no. He has a point. His life is very difficult. It's hopeless. But this is something you only do once in a lifetime. You got to do it in the best way. How do you want to do it? You're going to jump off a bridge?" I said, yeah. He said, not such a good idea. First of all, people survive that sometimes. It'll be tremendous pain, Until you die, you could die before you die. The Neshama can ausgehen. Farmer starved. That's what And he said, and then he gave all these different eights as how he's going to commit suicide, and each one he said, that's not, this is something you do only once in a lifetime. You want to do it in the best way. You know what? Think it over. 3 weeks from now, come back to me. We'll figure out a way, and then we'll do it. And then he didn't come back. 3 weeks later, obviously, because the Rebbe showed he cared about him. If he would have said, "Oh, you're crazy," he would have gone and done it. The Rebbe doesn't care about me, but when he showed this is how Reb Melech explains it. That is a sign that he showed compassion, and that's how he saved this man's life. He told another story. Reb Melech Biederman told another story about Yeshayale Kerestir, that there was a poor man came to him, and he said, "All right, go to this wealthy person and tell him to give, that the Rebbe said give this much money." He gave an amount, and so then the guy went and said, "Tell the Rebbe to stop this. I can't have people knocking on my door all the time like this. What are you doing to me?" So then he told him, he said, if you that's Shapsi. He said, all right, if you're not going to give this money, it means you don't need to be a gvir. It will can take it away. It will make Baruch Shalom can make someone else a gvir. And then he realized, all right, he has to give the tzedakah. And I guess I'll tell a story that I always tell. In the other video, we have it, where there was two secular Jews from Budapest. They come to see the old-fashioned Jews. They come to Tish and Kerestir, and the one he eats from the shrine, the other one doesn't. The one who eats from the shrine, when he goes back to Budapest, he can't eat anything. And then they asked the doctor. The doctor said, "When's the last time you ate?" So it was in Kerestir. That witch doctor, rabbi, what did he do to me? He put a curse on me. So then he goes back to. So he said, "Well, go back to." He goes back to Kerestir, and he said, "What did you do to me? You put a curse on me that I can't eat." I said, "What do you mean eat?" Yeshayale always gave away a lot of food, so he was able to eat. So then they said, "What do you mean? What happened?" He said, "Oh, when you eat from Yeshayale's shrine, you can only eat kosher. You can't eat treif anymore." So then the guy had to start keeping kosher. Once he was keeping kosher, Eddie became frum altogether. People think like in Europe everybody was frum. It wasn't. wasn't so. Even in the Hamish places. But all right. Well, thank you for watching. God bless. Please like, share, and subscribe. Comment to the schos of Meshayim and Moshe should be zeicha to all kinds of ashpos, toivas, whatever we need. And Tarka Bernishlam Zolveknem and the Harva Machla and Chicken and Gold Tzedek Haverman.